Sofas definitely set the tone of a room, and it is always a challenge to find something that is a mix of function and good design.
Sofas are definitely one of the biggest decisions that people need to make when they're furnishing their home. They can pack a big design punch, or they could also be a big letdown.
So we found a couch we really like. The shape is great, and it is pretty easy to do this transformation. It's a really chic version of some of the things that you see in really high-end boutiques right now. Coming across a cool couch is usually pretty difficult, especially with the budgets that we have. So we're forced a lot of time to create a couch that is really, really chic, but with the budget, it's a little tricky.
This couch actually had a skirt on it, but once we ripped that off, we could tell that it had really nice feet, it was very low profile, it had a nice form. That's what made us think that we could probably save it if we just did a quick wrap job on it.
So we're gonna get started, and the first step is to remove the back fabric.
Getting old.
Oh, 35. This particular couch has this little protective covering here. What this is actually just covering all the upholstery details inside. So when we pull this off, the staples will be there. That'll be where you actually start to pull this fabric off. Edge of your fabric for the back is right here. It's pretty simple to just pull this usually. I'll say that. Give me my pliers. When you're pulling off upholstery, the less violent you are, the smoother it goes. So like, take your time pulling everything apart. You want to try to make sure that you keep all of your padding and all of the inner workings of the couch kind of where they are. So we just gotta make sure there's nothing sticking out like a staple or a nail, and then we should be ready to rewrap this thing.
So are we taking this batting out?
I always keep everything on upholstery until the very end. You can also lay out your panels as you rip them off to give you kind of a rough measure of the amount of fabric you'll need. So that's why it's always wise to save everything until you're kind of done. So the upholstery is wrapped in two ways on a couch. It starts at the base and is pulled back where you would lose your coins or your remote. We can locate it pretty easily by sticking our hand in here. Wherever you see your fingers hit, that's where you need to cut. That fabric right there will allow you to rewrap the thing really, really easily. So we've cut our line, we've got all the staples and nails knocked down. So the next step is to figure out what to do with the cushions. For this particular couch, we're gonna remove the back cushions. It's really kind of a frumpy look. We're gonna change them up with some accessory pillows, so you'll still have that nice padded back. You're keeping the cushions here. It's gonna stay right in place. So the cotton that was on this is really nice because you can kind of shape it. It's a lot easier to work with really than even batting is. It'll be nice to clump up in that middle, and then we'll even it out with another layer of new batting over the whole bench seat to be able to create this nice smooth look. It's a bench seat. You don't want it to look like it's two cushions that were just covered with fabric. And since this particular cushion has piping on it, I want to make sure that we have a nice extra bit of padding on the front. Most things can be fixed with adding more layers. So if you put one layer of batting on and it still looks lumpy, add another layer of batting. If it still looks frumpy, do it again. So we'll wrap the entire front bench. This is a double layer. I'm doubling it up immediately. When you're getting ready to do the batting, I like to fold the edge. There's this, that's the raw edge. If you just kind of tuck it under, it creates a really nice smooth finish. So when you staple and stretch, it looks very nice and uniform. And it also will eventually meet another piece of fabric here. So it's important to kind of keep that neat. Same thing around the foot. Just kind of roll the batting up to create a nice neat line. And pull it nice and taut around the foot.
How far apart are the staples?
Again, I don't think too many staples is a thing. I mean, I'm sure it's a limit to that, but for the most part, more is better, especially on upholstery. Just keeps it nice and tight. One last time, and we're gonna unfold it this time after we cut the length.
So we'll unfold it so that it's much longer, so that there's plenty of excess to staple it on the back frame here.
I'm just pushing all the excess batting through, make sure all the top is nice and tight to kind of punch the cushion. If there's some give to it without anything going crazy, then you've got it about the right. All right, let's staple it, and then we can start fabric. So the mural that we're doing for this project is pretty bold. It's got a lot of deep saturated colors, so we're keeping the couch really neutral, keeping it all white, and really letting the texture be the big style point here.
We have a lot of organic and rustic textures in this living room, so we wanted to balance it out with some nice, soft, neutral tones in the sofa.
We've got our batting done. We're doing this really fun stretch teddy bear fabric. Very textural, very soft, super plush. It's easy to upholster with this particular fabric. It's almost like a fleece, but it stretches really nice in one direction. This is not an actual upholstery fabric, so picking the right fabric is key. I would say fleece-based or these fuzzy, furry type fabrics are the best. Keep in mind that you need a little bit of give on your fabric to have this turn out perfect. We didn't give ourselves a lot of extra with the batting, but this time we're gonna give ourselves a nice amount to pull all the way through.
Maybe 1.5 feet?
No, 18 inches, yeah. This is actually gonna cover the bench seat part, so it doesn't need to go over the arm. This stretches this way, so we're applying it with the stretch going long ways on the couch. That'll help you as you're pulling it tight to be able to get that nice stretch across that bench seat. Keep pulling it tighter and tighter. All right, we're gonna staple the front like we did the batting. There's a little bit of an art to the edge where we're gonna pull this fabric since this is a no tack, no staple. The trick to doing a fold seam on a couch like this is to pull all the excess fabric out from the inside. So I've got my hand up in here and I'm gonna literally just pull this fabric as tight as I can in a twisting motion. Twist, 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 pull tight on that edge, and then staple. And that'll give you this really nice tight seam right where you want it. So we have a lot of excess here. We're gonna grab the handful and just chop it off with a pair of scissors. Don't stress too much if it's not absolutely perfect. You can definitely pull out a lot of the imperfections just by adding a staple or two here and there. Pull that nice and tight around the foot.
What seems nice about this particular fabric is that it bunches in a pretty way.
Yeah, it does bunch.
Since it has all this kind of fluffiness.
If you'll help me spin, we're gonna do the half of the back on this side, and then we'll do our final stretch and pull for that side. Stretching it out as you staple it. The next part is to do the back. It's a solid piece of fabric that we're gonna wrap all the way around. An actual upholsterer would probably use a measuring tape of some kind, but this is very effective for me. So you want about 18 inches again of just some leeway, about 18 inches from the end of the arm wrapped around. All right, so we're gonna unfold the fabric. We're gonna just drape it over the back. We're gonna tuck all of it in the back and through our seam that we cut. So the stretch again is gonna be running with the couch. It makes it a lot easier.
That way.
Yep, so the fabric is doing that. So we'll have the stretch kind of pulling it down. For when we stretch it to staple it, it'll go nice and easy. So we're gonna grab the fabric that we pushed through, pull it around, staple it on the bottom. I always like to make sure that this inner part is stapled first before you start pulling anything. Just make sure everything's nice and tight. We're gonna staple all the way around, make sure everything's pulled out nice, no wrinkles.
Before we pull the top through?
Before we pull the top, yep. The bottom is stapled, so we can start to pull our fabric around. That same twisting motion that we used before is really key to keeping this fabric nice and stretched and tight, so it creates a nice little fold seam. Get a staple in there as deep as we can. I would put a good number of staples here because this is a pressure point. It's a nice way to roll the fabric so it's not fraying or falling out. Because of the Queen Anne style of this arm, there is gonna be a fold here, which is perfectly fine. The big thing with a fold is that it's nice and fat. You've got a lot of fabric to make it feel full. And then the other crucial component is to pull that stretch super tight. So as tight as you can get this is really, really crucial to keeping this looking nice.
Now that you have the fold, you just kind of stretch it very straight across.
Yeah. Keeping the crease as small as possible is really my #1 goal. I don't really want to see a ton of that, but it's inevitable on a wrap job. You can really take a lot of the wrinkle out by stretching this particular fabric to a really tight stretch, and it'll help eliminate a lot of that. So we're gonna go all the way down the back with staples, and then we'll finish out the other side like we did the first one.
Looks great.
Love it. What a transformation.
Very chic.
Very chic. Nice texture to it. This thing is ready to go. The sofa in any room really is the key anchor, I think. When you have a really great sofa, it's the first thing people notice.
I really love how this sofa kind of balances this space. We have a lot of angular features and hard textures, and then this is very soft and fluffy, so it just kind of balances out the whole space. I have never really upholstered anything before, and what's great about it is that if in a few years your styles change,
it's really easy to just unwrap it and rewrap it with your new favorite fabric.